The Helldivers were unable to hold back the automaton forces and have unfortunately failed the last major order. We have 4 days to liberate Veld from the hidden Terminid nest, so everyone hop in and take back Bug Nom. Alright cadets, back to some more Helldivers training, and today we're covering the Arc Thrower, a support weapon that stuck out so much to me that I'm asking the question, can this weapon replace the Railgun? And before all you meta slaves go to the comment section and call me a dumbass, I think you'll find the footage in this video really interesting. So before we get into it, be sure to like and subscribe for more Helldivers 2 content just like this, and let's get straight into it. Now, the Arc Thrower is a semi-underrated weapon. Now, this gun has made its rounds around the community just a little bit, but it has not quite caught into the mainstream meta across the community yet because people are so focused on the Railgun. Now, for one, this gun has unlimited ammo, and since it arcs between multiple enemies, it's obviously literally so amazing for taking down breaches and dropships. But what's really amazing about this weapon for me is that it completely ignores heavy armor and deals direct damage to enemy health bars. Now, the Arc Thrower pretty much auto locks on to the enemy bodies about mid-center, I've noticed, but you can actually aim this at different body parts like charger arms to focus on stripping armor in that specific spot. So just aim at whichever leg and shoot. The arc will travel through it to the center of the charger. But better yet, what you can do is just hit the charger leg a couple times and put some big chips in it, then swap to a different weapon and finish it off. And you will see that it strips the armor from the leg completely in that one specific spot as long as you're aiming at it. Now, I like using the Scorcher because it's an extremely strong weapon, but that splash damage on the chips just seems like it's insane. Make sure you have a nice big chip in the charger's armor. Don't just shoot it once and make one small chip and swap to your primary. You haven't done enough damage with the Arc Thrower yet. You need to get a couple chips in there. Now, also keep in mind that armor chipping seems like it's exclusive to bugs. I've never noticed robot armor chipping like that, but this gun is also pretty great against bots since it will take multiple of the little guys who can throw flares out at once. Like, let's say you run into a little group of mini bots and you shoot one and one other one's off somewhere throws a flare up into the air. Well, that's what's great about the Arc Thrower is it will actually arc to all the different bots. Now, if you don't kill it in time and they do happen to call one, you can quickly dispatch of most of the enemies on the dropship because this gun will 3-shot Devastators, 1-shot the regular bots, and it is a little bit iffy on the ATSTs, but more on that later. Now, luckily, I also took the Arc Thrower to kill a Hulk mission just to test how many shots it will take to kill one, and it ended up being 6 shots. Now, keep in mind, while that does seem like a little bit of a lot of shots to take out one Hulk, you're usually shooting this into a Hulk that's running with multiple small enemies, or even possibly multiple Hulks, especially at higher difficulty. So you will actually be using this more than likely on a group of enemies, but it's also going to deal damage to that Hulk passively. But if you just have one stray Hulk chasing you, well, just duck and weave, dip and dodge, and just shoot that Hulk 6 times. And by the way, the Arc Thrower has a much better range than you probably realize. Again, more on that later, but really it's just the simple fact that this weapon is so great because it's another weapon other than the Railgun that can kill Hulks without having to sneak up behind them. And before we go over those other tips for using this gun effectively, which I do have a couple for you guys, I want to talk about the title of this video. Can the Arc Thrower replace the Railgun? And I'll play some background footage of me trying to kill a Bile Titan all alone, only with this gun, no stratagems. This gun really is not strong enough on its own to take down a Bile Titan, unlike the Railgun. The Railgun can do it by itself. Now, you can kill a Bile Titan with this gun, it's just going to take a lot of shots and a lot of running around. But it's really not worth using. If you have this gun equipped, you might as well use stratagems to take out Bile Titans. And with that out of the way, back to some of the Helldive difficulty footage that's playing right now, because I was taking out multiple Bile Titans after throwing down a couple rocket pods to weaken them, and then I was finishing them off with the Arc Thrower, and it's great because when there's multiple Bile Titans, I just spam this into one and it deals passive damage to the other. So if this gun can't take out a Bile Titan all on its own, then how does this gun ever replace the Railgun? Well, this gun is much more effective for taking out swarms than any primary weapon, and much better at taking out swarms compared to the Railgun, while still being able to take out those kind of mini bosses. Chargers, Hulks, etc. So in my opinion, if you're running a duo, for example, if one person has a railgun and one guy has an arc thrower, I think that's a much stronger combo than both guys having railguns. And it's also much stronger than a grenade launcher for taking out swarms as well, since it's much easier to use than a grenade launcher. Grenade launchers can kind of bounce and off of enemies. Sometimes it's a little bit awkward. And don't get me wrong, I was a day one grenade launcher player. I used grenade launcher non-stop until I started testing out other weapons. And another thing about the grenade launcher is it also has problems against chargers and hulks, even though it can kill them, but you actually have to get behind them and target their weak point. So if you're running duos, I will genuinely say that I think one railgun, one arc thrower would be stronger than two railguns. And in squads, 2 players with railguns, 2 players with arc throwers would be amazing. Then you could split up into 2 duos and take down the whole map. Even in a trio, I would go as far as to say that 2 players should run arc throwers and 1 player can run the railgun. Since again, obviously you guys are gonna have enough stratagems to coordinate how to take down the Bile Titans if your railgun guy's busy. And if your stratagems are down, just call over the one railgun guy and let him know he needs to focus a bigger enemy. So this gun doesn't completely replace the railgun when it comes to overall ease of use or if you're a solo player, but like I said, a combo of one railgun, one arc thrower will probably always outperform 2 railguns in my opinion. So I think this gun does replace the railgun in some aspects like that. And I actually think that this gun is underutilized, even though there is like a niche part of the player base that is using this gun and saying it's awesome. I really am actually surprised that this gun isn't considered meta yet. So let me know what you think about this take in the comments down below. And now for some of those extra tips on using the arc thrower, because there is just a slight learning curve to using this. Now, if you read the description of this gun, it says it's for close range, but it actually reaches a lot further than it seems like. But keep in mind, you can pretty much only use this in the mid range. It won't really reach any sort of long range targets. Now, at the same time as that, I noticed that for some reason it was really awkward and it wasn't really working if an enemy was too close to me. So anytime you notice in the background footage, anytime an enemy started running up to me, I started diving backwards to shoot at them. The dive backwards shot is also just really good in general for taking out jetpack dudes, and it's also good for many of the other support weapons I've been trying out, like the laser cannon and the flamethrower. So if you decide to try any of those other support weapons, then you definitely gotta add the dive backwards shoot into your arsenal. And the loadout I like running with the arc thrower is definitely rocket pods, because when you have that shit module to let you get 3 charges of these, you can save them all for tanks and Bile Titans. You can also take the EMS mortar to keep the enemies all together, and you will definitely be the mobbing king on your team if you combine an EMS with the arc thrower. And lastly, if you don't care about an EMS mortar and you just want some other kind of airstrike or orbital support, then I highly recommend running the Eagle airstrike, as not only is it good for tons of mobs when so many swarms happen that you don't feel like charging the arc thrower that many times, but the airstrike also shoots down what seems to be anti-tank rounds. It'll chip armor and chargers. It'll at least do damage to hulks and tanks, even though, like I said, I don't think robot armor chips, but it will do some passive damage against the bigger guys if your rocket pods happen to be on cooldown, as well as just being great for mobs. And then one last thing I want to mention is, for some reason, this gun's targeting is really wonky with the scout riders. Sometimes it takes them out instantly, but more often than not, it only hits the front of their heavy armor shield, and it doesn't kill the riders for some reason, which, by the way, is another reason I love running the Scorcher, because this gun is splash damage and you could just shoot it at the top of their shields and it will kill them in usually 2 shots. And if you have the Scorcher unlocked, or you plan on using it when you unlock it, I actually think this is one of the best weapons over the Breaker to run with the arc thrower, because the Breaker is the most used primary weapon, I think, because it can take out massive amounts of mobs really fast. But you're not going to be using your Breaker to take out mobs, you're going to be using your arc thrower. So a gun like the Scorcher, which can deal with medium armor because it does splash damage, or even a gun like the Slugger, which can deal with some medium armor to a certain extent, might end up being better than the arc thrower in your primary slot. And that is it for this training on the arc thrower. I hope you guys go out and try this gun, because once you get the hang of it, it's very, very fun and very viable in multiplayer. I really think this should be a bigger part of the meta. So be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this training, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.